Hello, I'm Helen V. Hicks, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of What Would Helen Say? In today's episode, Becoming Who You Want to Be. My client not only follows up with how things went with her estranged friend, but we also begin to explore other areas of dysfunction and how she can start practicing new behaviors and new techniques to start changing that and shifting her reality to who she wants to be. Thank you for tuning in. And once again, if you would like to support my work or if you're interested in receiving early access to upcoming episodes and other premium quality information in regards to therapy skills and techniques that you can apply to your own life, please click the link below. Go to Patreon for more information. Thank you. All right. So, how did this past week go for you?
This was a trying week for sure.
Oh, so what happened?
It was just a lot, like between wedding planning and the bridal party is like super catty. Then on the other hand, dealing with, the friend that I told you about,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with that, and then there was a lot. Like this whole weekend was just so crazy. It was fun, but it was a lot. I felt like I was being pulled in like so many different directions, as always. I think that's why I'm so sleepy. I just want one day I can just knock out. That's it. Just one day.
Well, I definitely advocate for that to happen. So, like, where do you
Um,
want to start with this week?
um, well, with the bridal party, they're just weird. Like, I don't know. They don't know. Like, the whole objective was for them to plan things without me, but every 5 seconds they're still coming to me. So I'm like, okay, well, I can just do it myself. And it's like, oh, no, 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 no. You don't have to do it. We'll do it for you. So why are you talking to me? Like, everyone needs to just figure it out and coordinate with each other. And it's not like, it's a group of people that don't know each other. Like, they all know each other very well. So that's why it's even more annoying. They made a completely separate chat without me to, not include me in the stuff. And then there's one that just runs back and tell me every little thing, screenshot every little thing.
Oh, no.
Right. So I let them know, like, don't do that. Like, I don't care. Like, don't tell me anything. And she was like, yeah, well, I saw that message that y'all was saying in the chat, but I know that wasn't directed to me. It had to be for somebody else because, you my friend. I'm gonna tell you anyway. I'm like, did you not read what was it? Like, I think, do you have like a mental block or something? Like, girl, please. Like,
Okay.
okay.
So, the first thing that comes to mind here is how this friend dynamic that you talked about, um, I don't know, before, is really magnified.
It is. It's showing me more and more. And um, I was just thinking to myself, like, this is, I guess, eye opener for me to show me like people's like true intentions and true colors. I'm assuming. So I'm like fighting with myself at the same time of like when will be my breaking point with friends? Like to just say, you know what, that's it, I'm done, without feeling bad behind
Okay. So, my suggestion
it.
is to just slowly start setting those limits. You know, um, I don't know if I talked about this before, but I often describe people being in relationships as being in a dance.
Yeah,
Okay. So as you start setting those limits, you start changing the dance. You're no longer going like this, you pull over here.
hmm,
And this person, their first reaction is always going to be to get angry. And
absolutely.
They get angry because they're trying to force you back into the role they're used to you being in.
Right.
Whether it's through making you feel guilty, making you think that you did something wrong, you messed something up, this is all your fault, all those types of tactics. And after they're angry, either they're going to choose to meet you over here and create a new dynamic in the relationship, or they're going to fall off.
Right.
So, really, the only thing you need to do is set the boundaries that work for you, see
Mm-hmm.
who stays, and see who falls off.
Right. I think my biggest thing is just like that whole, what do you call it, like time and history thing. I'm just like, I think that's why I'm stuck. Like, you know how, like, if you hear people saying, like, even if they're just like in a relationship, oh, well, we've been together, this amount of years, so it's like harder to like draw yourself back kind of thing. I look at it like that way in a way too, because it's like most of these friendships, well, this one in particular, it's been 15 years, maybe. And I'm just like, I'm kind of tired of it. And like even people that's like not in the friendship are like starting to notice it, and I'm just like, yeah, so it's not just me.
I hear you, but the reality is you aren't the same person you were 15 years ago.
Exactly. Right.
So
That's what I have
you
to tell myself. Right. Yeah. Absolutely right.
so it's 100% okay if you and this person grew in different directions and this friendship really isn't servicing you anymore.
Right. Right. Definitely. It's definitely not the same person I was. So yeah, that plays a part. But yeah, I already told. Like, yeah, you skating on thin ice, my friend. You're on thin ice. I'm just so over it, but I'm so tired. I can't even deal with her.
Okay.
Um,
So self-care is definitely a necessity.
yeah. I'm thinking of probably like maybe this weekend or something. And just like not making any plans and just telling everybody just like no, like not today. I don't feel like it today. I just need to, yeah, mellow and chill out. Hopefully this weekend.
Okay. So definitely do
Um,
that for yourself.
yeah. Now the other friend, I took your advice. We basically approached the conversation, basically just honest, without being harsh, and we basically came to an agreement of where it went wrong. And she finally broke down and basically told me her issue, which I told you like she never really does. And we were able to have like that type of conversation. And she was like, "This is what I needed the whole time." And I'm like, "Yeah, I did too."
Okay. So ultimately, does that mean you've made a decision to let her back into your life and you guys are going to continue this friendship?
Slowly, yeah. We're supposed to meet like in person with, I think, in maybe 2 weeks or so. Um, she wanted to grab lunch or whatever to go over things. And I told her, like, I don't mind that because I feel like in my mind, I just kept telling myself, like, I deserved an apology. That's what I was waiting for. I needed apology, accountability, and some form of acknowledgement because this was one of those situations where I'm like, what did I do wrong? Like, I know I didn't do anything wrong, but it's like you kind of like reflect to see, like, okay, well, what could I have done differently or better so that this didn't happen? But she said it herself, like, I understand if you're not, ready to, let me back in, like, how we used to be or whatever, or if it's not going to go back that way. But basically, if this is what it takes, like, I'll do it because I completely understand where I messed up. Like, I messed this up for us, and I should not have done that, basically. And she said she needed time to herself and everything like that. And I'm like, yeah, I believe it is because that was like super traumatic to be in like that type of domestic situation. And I'm like, I hope that you understood where I was coming from, where I just couldn't allow myself to be around that.
Right.
Especially, like with my kid, she's getting older. She starts to notice things. I don't need her to see that, and then she starts questioning things, or if I don't have that in the household already with her, and it's like we don't do that, so she's not used to that kind of behavior. So yeah,
All
so
right.
far so good.
Good for you. I'm so happy that you
Right.
interacted with her and you had the conversation that was necessary.
Yes. I'm like it was long overdue. Long overdue. And it really just felt like a relief at the same time. Like it's like we naturally just fell like back into place a little bit, but then it's like we both were like, okay, maybe, we should just chill out a little bit and wait until we see each other. But um her birthday just passed and I kinda like forgot about it a little bit. It was like a day off. And then she even told me, she was like, you do the same thing all the time. Like you always tell me that I told you the wrong day, and I believe she did. I don't care what she said. But she was like, you never told me happy birthday on my birthday. It's always the next day because you think I lied to you. And I'm like, and I actually did that this time. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's your birthday today. She was like, no, it's yesterday. I'm like, oh, stop it. But yeah, it felt like such a relief.
Good, good. So I'm curious because last time we spoke, you said that you were afraid that you might get angry and, come off really harsh. So how did you do with that?
I basically asked her to kind of like, I asked her basically like, well, what do you think you did wrong? Like, I needed to know that first because I didn't want her to like if I'm sitting here telling you like, okay, this is what I feel that you did wrong. This is where it went left, and then she's like, well, no, like that's not the case or whatever. Because I told you like we never really had like that like an emotional or vulnerable conversation like that before. So I didn't really understand where her mind was, or like I said, for as long as it's been of us not speaking, almost what 2 years or over a year, something like that. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't really know how her approach is right now. So I needed to know like really how she felt about it first, and then I was able, okay, now I can feed off her energy. But it was still in a way that I was able to let everything out, and so was she at the same time. And her tone didn't come across bad either because in between the text messages, we were also doing voice notes. So I'm like, I can hear her tone, and I wasn't just like assuming it through a text, like you're reading it in the wrong way. You read the tone through a text, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I started sending voice notes, and then she sent them back. I'm like, okay, like she doesn't sound like she's in like a negative or like an angry space, so I shouldn't do that to her either. Like I owe her that much, just like she owes me as well.
Okay.
Yeah, like we can try to keep it respectful as possible. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying.
So, how did it feel for you to take a different approach to this?
um, it it felt good. I feel that most of the energy sometimes that I give off is like energy that I feel people are giving to me, kind of thing. So I'm kind of like feeding off of, like if your tone is like horrible, I'm just like, okay, well now I'm going to feel like that too. Like, or if I feel like you're being dismissive, okay, now I'm going to be dismissive too. Like, but like I said, with her speaking first, and I'm like, okay, she understands. She's a little bit more understanding as to why I felt the way that I did, and it's just like, it was like a warm and like welcoming type of thing, versus if she would have, been yelling or whatever, then it's like, okay, now I got to do the same thing back. But I'm trying not to react that way. It's very hard. It's very, very hard.
It is definitely a skill that has to be cultivated. Um,
Yes.
but something I just want to point out because you mentioned that, okay, if other people are a certain way and then you kind of feed off of that and then you become a certain way, why not flip it and take the lead?
Right.
Instead of allowing them to dictate how you're going to be and how you're going to respond, why not you take the lead? And
Mhm.
maybe then they'll follow your lead. And if you're calmer and you're under control, then maybe they'll say, okay, well, she's not really doing that. So I just look
Right.
foolish.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think yeah, that I notice that I do that a lot. I tell myself all the time. It's like it's one of those moments where I just like I'm going off and I'm on like 1,000, and then right after I'm just like, oh my god, why did you do that? Like, why did you say that? What is wrong with you? And I feel so bad. I'm
I
all over the place.
understand. No, you're fine. Um, I understand what you just said in terms of after it happens, then you have like, oh man, and you're kind of like beating yourself up. Um, I don't want people to beat themselves up because
Hmm.
when you beat yourself up, the only thing it really assures is that you're going to do it again.
Yep.
So, what you really need is to kind of boost yourself up. Instead of beat yourself, boost yourself.
Okay.
So again, it's coming back. I told you about the 5-year-old who knows to put a band aid on her skin knee. That's what I'm really coming back to. Because if something happened that just emotionally wounded you, if you engage in behavior you're not proud of, then guess what? That's you hitting the broken leg saying, get better, get better, get better.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you need a moment, take a step back and say, all right, I didn't like that. Here's what I didn't like about it. What is going to make me proud of me?
Hmm.
So even if the other person acted like a jerk, you can still walk away proud of you and say, you know
Right.
what? Pat me on the back. I did a good job. Like,
Right. Yeah. 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 I need to figure out ways, yeah, definitely to be proud of me. I can be proud of other people, and I feel like sometimes people tell me that they're proud of me, and I'm just like, okay, so now what do I do next? What's the next move? Like, I'm always worried about what's gonna happen next or what to do next versus like what I just did now. Like, and I noticed that I'm starting to like I don't know if it's just coming like with age or just like maturity or what I don't know, but I'm starting to like have a lot of like reflections, like self reflections, and I'm just like, this is just not right. Like, I need to figure it out. I really do. I need to figure it out. It's horrible. Like, even down to me like always like offering myself or offering advice to people, and then meanwhile there's like a whole tornado in my head. But I'm just like, no, I'm fine. I can just push that to the back. Let me figure out what's wrong with you first and figure you out and help you out.
okay. So sometimes in those scenarios, other people's stuff feels and sounds more manageable than
Hmm.
your own.
Yeah. Right.
You feel like because you're on the outside, one of the benefits of being on the outside is there's no emotion there.
Hmm.
So you take emotion out of the equation, and guess what? You can see everything so clearly. He's like, oh,
Hmm.
girl, you just need to do this, 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 and this. Get gone.
Right. Right.
But when it's your own stuff, all this emotion is involved. It becomes, oh, well, you could do that, but then what's so and so going to say? And is this person going to be happy? And is it going to be happy? And here's the backlash over here. And then what about that? And did you consider this?
Mhm.
And you get so bogged down by all these different things that, yeah, it feels a whole lot easier just to tell somebody else, no, it's A plus B equals C. Okay, we done.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So, kind of moving along in that direction, I think what's probably going on is there's some anxiety there.
Yes, yes, yes. And I'm so quick to say that to other people, and it's me.
Oftentimes we see in other people what's really going on with us.
Right. How do I even manage that? I feel like it's always been there, but as I've gotten older, it's like I feel like it's attacking like more and more. I don't know if because I have like added responsibilities or just added things that I'm just adding that doesn't need to be. Like I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's like it interrupts like daily activities sometimes. Where like I was telling you, like even with like the cleaning, sometimes I'm just like I plan like a whole list in my head, and then as soon as one wrong thing, I can be off literally by like 5 minutes, and I'm just like, that's it. I'm done. I'm not doing it.
Okay. So, one, anxiety is what is known as a cyclical disorder. And what that means is it feeds off of itself. So,
Mhm.
if you do nothing to address the anxiety, it will get worse all on its own. Like, you don't have to do anything for it to get worse.
Mhm.
It'll do it. It's just like, okay, I'll just keep going.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the first thing. It Yes, it is getting worse as you move along if you're not actively fighting against it.
Mhm.
Okay. The other thing that I'm hearing is kind of like the all or nothing,
Yep.
which I then tie back around to some of the things that are happening with you feeling overwhelmed, the relationships where there aren't the boundaries there that need to be there because it's kind of like,
Mhm.
well, either there's all the boundaries or there's none.
Yep. That's how I am. That's exactly how I am. It's like you literally have me like 24/7, or I'm just done completely.
And this comes back to balance. As far as the all
Mhm.
or nothing is, it's always about balance. Like, perfection is just a form of self torture.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever going to be perfect. And the only thing you can do is accept it.
Mhm.
You have to accept that things are going to be less than what your ideal is sometimes. And it doesn't mean you failed. That's just life.
Right. I have to teach myself that. One wrong thing, I'm like, no, my life is over. Oh my gosh. Like I'm done. And that's the problem.
So we can work on some coping skills here. Start.
Yes. Coping skills are just like a constant like thing all day long. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, I don't know. This is crazy.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Can you identify any specific fears associated with things not getting done a certain way, um, of worrying about what's going to happen? Like, are there specific fears attached to that?
Um, I think I told you this already, but like with my mom, even though like we have like our own, I don't even know if you call them issues, problems. I don't know what you call that, but um, the way that her household was ran, it was just like very authoritative. Like this is the military. This is what it's gonna be. This is what it's gonna like. That's just that everything is super strict, super clean, and it's just like sometimes like she would make certain comments like if we're on the phone, and I'm just like it will literally be like a spoon, and it's just like you was in the house all day, you work from home. Them kids ain't stopping you from washing that one spoon, and I'm just like, okay. And now it's all building up, and I'm just like, okay, now it's even worse. Um, I guess my biggest fear is to just not. So I feel my biggest fear is to, how do I don't know. I don't want to say like let her down, but it's just like in my mind, I always picture that I'm gonna do better. So I can't be anything less than that because every little thing that I do is always being critiqued, I feel. And it has always been that way. So like it was funny like when you said like perfection, and I'm just like I know that perfection isn't like real, but in that household it was like a perfection thing. Like it definitely was an all or nothing type of thing. Like even now to some days I'm like literally tired, like today. So I don't even have the energy some days to like I can't even comb my hair. And she'll say to me like, why you look like that? Like what's wrong with you? You couldn't put a comb to your head? Like Or she'll make like a passive comment like, oh they must don't make combs over there where you live.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay. And most of the time, like the kids are around, so I try not to say certain things. I try to like ignore it, but it's annoying. It really is. So then I try to do all of these things to say, well, you know what? I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And then I'm just like, I'm really tired. Like I cannot do it today. Maybe I can do it tomorrow, probably. But it's like with everything that I do at any given moment, I'm constantly like hearing those like comments in my head, like all the time. And it's always been that way. So that's why I always like even what I said about worrying about what's gonna happen next because it's like I couldn't do anything in that house or whatever, like under her care at that time, without worrying about what is she gonna say, what is she gonna do. More so like what is she gonna do more than say. But it's like now, um, since I'm not living with her, there's nothing that she can do, but it's just the comments, and I'm just like, I don't think she realizes like how bad those comments were, and
Right.
like still are, and it's like those like literally have like everlasting effects because I can literally hear things from the time that I was like 6 or 7, like I can hear those comments all the way like now, and I don't think she fully took accountability for it. It would be like a few years back. She like apologized and was like, "Oh, I did the best that I could." But I'm just like, that doesn't. I don't care about material things that much. Like it didn't bother me back then. I don't care about that. I didn't like emotionally and like like I needed you to be there, but you were not. Physical. That was just a whole nother. That's his own monster in his own category. I can't even get into that, but it was just a lot.
Okay. So let me ask you this. When you think about your kids getting old enough to help around the house and do things, what is it you want to be able to say to them if they don't get something exactly right? How do you want to handle those situations?
Well, even now with my daughter, she's want to do everything that I do anyway. So if she doesn't know how to do something, like I'll show her how to do it, or I'll ask her like, "Oh, do you want help? Do you need help?" And she'll tell me if she needs help or not. If she needs help, then I'll help her and show her like, "Okay, I'll do it this one time, and then you do it, and let me know if you can do it," or like something like those types of things. But I'm not. It's rare that I'm ever getting mad because she doesn't know how to do something because I know how that feels. Like even that young, like I wouldn't do that. So, with her being older, well, if they get well, when they get older, I wouldn't, I'll try not to like speak to them in that way. Like, I've been getting called out of my name since I don't even know when. So it's just like I wouldn't even do that either because again, like I know how it feels. So it's like the feelings that I have towards her, I never want them to grow up and have those same feelings towards me.
Okay. I understand that, but I'm asking you to get more specific for a reason. So I want you to imagine, let's say your daughter is old enough to do the dishes and
Hmm.
she's left stuff behind, and you go in to check. How do you want to approach that situation with her?
Um, I think I would like, well, I would want to ask her, like, well, for one, like, why'd you leave it there? But besides that, like, is there a reason why you left that there? Like, is something wrong with you today to where, like, you just didn't feel like doing it anymore? Or, like, what happened? Like, I want to know why, basically. Um, but I don't know. I think I would just try to figure out why.
Okay.
Or, I mean, if I see that, if it's after school or something like that, it's been a long day, I will probably just do it. Like, I don't know. I'll
Okay.
probably just watch it.
So asking, that's a good start.
Hmm.
Where I want you to start trying to deviate a little bit because your statement was, is something wrong with you?
Right. And that's why I tried to change it on her because I'm like, yo, that sounds crazy. But that's the voice that I hear in my head right now. Like, it's little things like that. And it's like, I try to hurry up and like quickly retract it. And I'm like, no, that's like not what I meant to say. But it's like sometimes those thoughts or like those comments from like that I used to get or sometimes still get, I blur those out first. And I don't want to do that. Like I don't want to do that. And when I
So,
say it out loud, it's like I gotta hurry up and take it back.
but as you know, once things are out there, they're out there. People
Right,
can't take them back. So
right,
I'm asking you because I want you to start practicing the things you want to say to your kids when they get older with yourself now.
mhm,
So if it's a matter of something didn't get done,
mhm,
are you okay? Is there a reason why you didn't do this? And how do you make it okay? How do you
mhm,
say, all right, I can understand that. You're allowed to be tired. You're allowed to have a headache. Like,
right,
just, I want you to start thinking along those lines because as you practice it with yourself, it not only ensures you'll be able to do that with your kids, but you'll also start healing yourself. You
right,
start providing yourself a corrective experience.
mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
So this sounds fairly easy, but it's not.
It's not. That's why I just had to laugh because it's not.
No, because in those moments, you're going to default to your natural reaction,
Mhm,
but you have to keep practicing it. So here's one of the things I try to share with people. Um, I'm sorry, I gotta look for my little notes quick. Um, Sorry, I have to draw this out. Okay, so can you see that at all, or no? It's like
Feelings.
so you can see
Okay, I see the
feeling,
side.
and
Thoughts,
then
behavior.
so it's like this little triangle,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to keep that in mind. Um, so if I kind of make my hands look like a little triangle. We have feelings up here, we have thoughts over here, and behavior over here. Well, none of us have direct access to our feelings. We cannot decide how we want to feel about a situation. Feelings are
Mhm.
reactions. Like something happens and we just feel a certain way about it. But
Right.
how we react to that depends on our thought patterns and our behavior patterns that are already in existence.
Mhm.
Okay. So the other thing is the body likes to be in balance. So if you
Mhm.
have, let's say, a thought pattern that stealing is wrong, then your behavior over here is going to match the thoughts. You're not going to
Yeah.
steal. And
Right.
if everything matches up, then guess what? You feel good about yourself for not stealing.
Mhm.
But if that changes, so let's say that for whatever reason you stole something, now that's automatically going to create anxiety because now the body's out of balance. The body's like,
Yeah.
whoa, hey, I thought we didn't steal.
Right.
What's going on? What changed?
Right.
And you're going to have that anxiety until you change something. You're either going to change your thoughts and your beliefs about stealing. Well, now, stealing's okay sometimes. You know, it depends on the circumstances. So either you're going to change your thoughts or you're going to change the behavior. You're going to correct it. And you're saying, you know what, this really isn't good. I got to take this back. I got to pay for it. I got to rectify the situation. You're going to do something to get yourself back in balance. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have that example so I can move into what I'm really trying to tell you.
Okay.
When it comes to people wanting to change how they feel in certain circumstances, you have to start by changing your thought pattern or your behavior pattern that's associated with that resulting feeling. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about that feeling of anxiety and annoyance that you get when things aren't done the way your mother would want them to be done. And you keep
Mhm.
hearing her critical voice and comments that are coming up. And, that's what you want to change.
Yeah.
In order to do so, we have to decide to change either how you think about it or what you do about it. We can start with either one. It doesn't matter because what
Mhm.
we're trying to do is get you to engage in this new pattern enough that it creates that anxiety where the body's like, I'm not in balance anymore. Something's got to
Yeah.
change.
Mhm.
And it's either going to force you to adopt a new behavior pattern or a new thought pattern so you can be back in balance again.
Right.
Okay. So that's why I'm asking you if you can get very specific comments that you do want to be able to one day tell your children, but start by telling it to yourself.
Yeah.
Now we're changing your behavior. Your behavior isn't going to be the same when things aren't perfect.
Mhm.
If you're able to constantly do this, eventually it's going to force you to start thinking differently about it. Like, okay, everything doesn't really need to be perfect. It's okay if
Mhm.
I leave that behind. It's all right if I go out and my hair isn't every strand is in its place.
Right.
Like either you're going to do it that way with changing the behavior, or the other way you do is you start shifting your thought patterns. So even
Mhm.
if you're not ready to really fully engage in that behavior, you can start by telling yourself, it's like, you know what? I really don't want to make this out to be a big deal. I don't want to beat myself up about this. I want to make this
Mhm.
okay. I want to, comfort myself, put the band aid on the wound instead of beating it.
Yeah.
And you start thinking about it. You start thinking about, okay, what do I want to do differently? The next time I don't get all the chores on the list completed, what is it I want to tell myself? How do I want to handle that? And the more you think about it, just think about it. I'm not even
Yeah.
asking you to do anything, just think about it.
Mhm.
Eventually, what will happen is the behavior will start to follow.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. I get it. This is a lot of work.
It is, but I also look at it this way. You put in the work now, and even if it takes you a year to really
Mhm.
solidify all the changes that you want to make, even if it takes you 1 year, look at how many more years ahead of you in your life you now get to benefit from 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to tell myself that too. I'm always like, quick fixes are just like way easier, but it's just like it doesn't work that way. And I know that things are like a process, but mm,
So you saying quick fixes, it just kind of reminds me of something I tell my boys, and I tell them, hey, if you don't like doing this task, then do it right the first time, and you only have to do it once.
mhm.
But if you rush through it, I'm gonna make you do it again.
Right.
So it's a silly example, but think of it that way. How many times
Hmm.
you want to be in therapy? How many times you want to work on it?
Right. Oh my goodness.
And ultimately, you are worth doing the work.
Hmm.
If everybody else deserves getting the best of you, then you have to deserve getting the best of you.
Yeah.
So the other thing we have to come back to, because I mentioned coping skills, um,
Yes.
but just a very introductory thing. So since I know we're dealing with anxiety, the number one thing to combat anxiety is relaxation, because
Which I
anxiety.
don't do. I don't know.
So it's time to start.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. My fiance, he always tell me like, "Oh, just girl, chill out, relax." And I'm just like, "Okay, I should." But while I'm relaxing, I know that I can do laundry. I should put, the dishes need to go in the dishwasher. I can go out to the grocery store, and he's just like, "What is the point? Like, you just said you was gonna relax." But I'm like, by the time that I'm done relaxing, then the time I spent doing that, I could have been doing other things that actually matter.
I get it. And again, I want you to pull away from the whole all or nothing. Like you're either
Yep.
doing all the things or you're doing none of the things. This is about balance. Like
Mhm.
it's okay to do some of the things.
Yeah.
So relaxation, I mean, there's a ton of activities out there as far as relaxation is concerned.
Mhm.
what I want you to focus on is what's known as active relaxation. Okay. So, what active relaxation means is you have to do something to help your body relax.
Yeah.
So, that excludes, well, I sat and I watched TV.
Right.
Because I hear that from a lot of people. Well, that's my relaxation time. I sit and watch TV. No, I want you to do active relaxation. So think in terms of meditation, yoga, stretching, going for a walk. You know, if you like to listen to music, then maybe adding some dance, some type of movement to listening to music.
Mhm.
But I want you to get your body involved with doing something that is going to help bring your heart rate down, bring your respiration down, and release the tension in your muscles.
Mhm.
So, when I tell people walking, sometimes they're like, well, that's not necessarily getting your heart rate down, but it is getting your heart rate under control.
Yeah.
This isn't you need to go out and run a marathon. This is you can take a nice stroll
Mhm.
and just take in things in your neighborhood. Look at the colors of the trees and what flowers are out. If you see people with dogs, and just taking a note of what color the dogs are, what breed you think it is, like whatever it may be, but just giving yourself time to let go of the things that
Mhm.
are causing you to feel tense and stressed out.
Yeah. I need to figure out which one I'm gonna do. Maybe the walking. I'm supposed to be trying to lose weight at the same time. That's not working out.
Probably because you're so stressed.
Exactly. I'm just. This is a mess. Everything is just like it always comes full circle. Like one thing leads to this, and then one thing leads to the next. And I'm worried about those two things, and I circle back to the first thing that's wrong, and it's just like, okay, when does it stop?
it
It's like a never
stops.
ending thing.
It can be, but it stops when you choose to do something different.
Right. I have to let go the all or nothing thing, and I'm realizing that that is what is bothering me so bad. Like even with my weight loss, I'm just like I was working out consistently. I probably did like full 2 weeks straight. I missed one day, and I'm just like, okay, I'm never gonna do it again. I'm not doing it. I ate clean and everything. I ate one fry, and I'm just like, well, I might as well just keep on going back to McDonald's. Like, I don't
So,
understand it.
but the key to all or nothing is also understanding that regression is a part of progress. So,
Hmm.
as much as you have this plan of how you're going to make all these changes and you're going to do all these things, it is very natural for the body to fall back on its usual patterns because those patterns are familiar, they're comfortable, and they're
Hmm.
less stressful.
Yeah.
Change is stressful on the body, and the brain often perceives change as painful. That's why it's so
Yeah.
hard.
Right. Okay.
So there's a piece of this where your brain is fighting against you to make these changes because your brain is like, ow, I don't like this. This hurts. Can we go back to the other thing? I like that.
Yeah.
So you're going to have regression naturally, not because you're not good enough, you messed up, you're weak, or anything else like that. Regression is just a natural part of it. You have to learn how to tell yourself it's okay. This is a part of growing. This is a part of learning. It doesn't mean that I have thrown in the towel. This is a part of the process of change.
Mhm.
So, as long as you have your moment of regression and you go back to whatever changes you were trying to implement, you will get to a point where there's a lot more moving forward than there is falling back.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's starting to come together in my head. It's starting to work. Starting to make sense.
Okay, so that is our time for this evening.
Okay. Why? Okay.
Well, if different things come to mind, I definitely encourage you to write it down during the week, whether
Wait.
it's like,
Okay. Yeah, I need to start doing that for sure. Because I feel like it was something else, but I don't know right now. But I'll definitely write it down now.
good. So I have notes, you have your notes, and we'll keep moving forward.
All right, then. Talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of What Would Helen Say? Please come back next week as we explore how my client is reacting to implementing these new skills. If you'd like to support what I'm doing, or if you're interested in accessing premium content, including early episode and detailed notes about the skills and interventions that I present, please click on the Patreon link below for more information. Thank you.